Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says...
Hey, welcome to the Lawrence County Republican Party show. This is Brandon Taylor, the chairman of the Lawrence County Republican Party. And across the table from me, I have Lawrence Sutton, the secretary for the Lawrence County Republican Party. And we have been working hard this week. We've got a lot going on. We got a lot of praise to pour out to the folks of Lawrence County for showing up in full support. We've got Paige Walley is going to be talking with us here in just momentarily. But Lawrence, what do you think about everything that's happening so far, my friend?
Oh man, I'm going to tell you what. Right now, it was an absolute blast watching liberals lose their mind in our Capitol yesterday. I mean, it was fun. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was. I was in my own Disney World.
You're at Disneyland.
I was in my own Disneyland inside the Capitol. We got there really early. We got there like 6:30. And no one was there. We were expecting all the liberals to be there and protest and everything. But, liberals don't get up at, early in the morning and go to work. That's just not their M.O.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Paige, can you hear me this evening?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. Good to be with you. We've just concluded our business for the day in the Tennessee Senate, and so appreciate y'all being here yesterday. As you said, I was there at 6:45 when y'all were coming in the door, and it was a big day for sure.
It was. I mean, first off, I also want to tell you, thank you for your hospitality yesterday. I mean, we came in, you came down to the door.
You were right there, yes.
Let us in, and it was very pleasant. Thank you so much.
It made us feel at home, Paige. You were there. We had a big group with us, and you're just letting everybody know, hey, these are my people. They're with me. And then for you to take us to where we were going, it's not like it had been easy for us to find it by ourselves. I mean, I tell you, Paige, it was a really awesome experience. My twin girls, they're jealous. They want to go so bad, but I told them, with everything that was going on, I just didn't feel it was going to be safe enough for them. But I'm going to tell you, we get there. I think the Capitol yesterday was just as safe as if I was at my house.
Oh, I've been to malls that were more dangerous than the Capitol.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if people stayed home because they felt like that they were going to be scared or that there was going to be danger, I'm telling you right now, you messed up.
You did. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is the Lawrence County Republican Party show, and we have our state senator, Mr. Paige Walley, on the line. Paige, why don't you give us a little update of what's going on in the Senate right now?
Yeah, I would love to. And again, thank you guys for coming, and you're exactly right. You all showing up made a difference. It sent a message. It couldn't have been a safer environment. We have some amazing law enforcement officers that were there, organized, keeping things civil and safe, and keep anybody that wanted to be there on behalf of their beliefs were welcome as long as they weren't disruptive. And it was a great day. But from y'all's visit yesterday, I wanted to follow up with you and tell you that as we discussed yesterday, the Senate today passed 3 bills. The 3 bills we discussed that we were going to pass, we did. And we are determined to hold it to these 3 bills to protect our law-abiding gun owners and taxpayers and citizens, and do only what we think is going to be some useful work. I don't believe that it was as urgent as the governor thought, but nevertheless, while we're here, we're going to do this and then look to adjourn. So what today we passed were the firearm and ammunition tax abatement, where the Department of Safety is going to provide free firearm locks to Tennessee residents upon their request, and it requires the department to contain in the department's instruction, the Department of Safety that does the handgun instruction safety courses, to have some instruction on safe storage of firearms. It exempts all the retail sale of firearm safes and firearm safety devices from all of our sales and use taxes beginning November 1st of this year. A lot of folks don't know this program was in place for a a pilot project that expired in June, but it just wasn't advertised at all. So while our department has many of these firearm locks, not many people had requested them. So now we're going to be making sure that as this program is revived beginning November the 1st, anybody that is buying or selling these kinds of storage devices or interlock devices, they're going to be tax-free, and then also citizens can order and ask for through our safety department for free ones that we have in stock. I want to make sure people understand this. This is nothing in this about punitive issues. What if you don't, for instance? What if you don't store them safely? What if you do have a gun that is stolen from your home or your car that wasn't locked? There is nothing that changes. This is about empowerment. It's making sure that our people have more access to these if they want them. And with the public safety announcements that we talked about are only related to issues around letting people know there are free firearm lock devices available to you through your Department of Safety. And, that's going to be included, conversation about that in the training. So that was one bill that passed today. It I think got unanimous support, except maybe from one of our Republican members who just didn't want to vote yes for anything, and I respect him for that. The next bill that we passed today was Senate Bill 7086, which it actually codified an existing governor's executive orders that requires circuit courts to get information on the Tennessee Instant Check site. It's called the TICS, T-I-C-S, Tennessee Instant Check site. It requires them to get that on there within 72 hours about anyone in the county that has been convicted of a felony or has an involuntary commitment to a psychiatric hospital. That's already what is expected from the governor, but this wasn't being done in a timely way. It was just typically being done as soon as practical or within 30 business days. Now we're going to have it within 3 business days. So we need to get this information up fast for our law enforcement to be aware. The third one that the Senate passed was on, it was number 7088. It was the human and child sex trafficking legislation that requires the TBI to compile a report of human trafficking of crimes and information, particularly as it relates to children, and they have to do it annually. And this year they have to do it by December the 1st of this year. The reason that's important is because when we get back in regular session, we want to make sure that we aggressively address this issue of child trafficking and human trafficking. The last report that was done by the TBI was 10 years ago. So we don't have these regular reports from which we can make some policy decisions. We're going to have that.
Why so long between reports on it? 10 years, that seems...
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Seems a bit extreme.
It does seem a bit extreme, but we had not had that as far as a full-blown report about all that we know in 10 years. So we're going to require it annually now. That's why the legislation was important. And the reason I think this was useful during the special session is they have to produce it now. They've got about 3-4 months to produce it before December 1st, so we can be ready for it in January when we come into our regular session. But a lot of people who have seen that movie, The Sound of Freedom,
yes,
have been sensitized to the reality that child sex trafficking, human trafficking is going on in all 95 counties in Tennessee. So that was a big issue, but we passed that today. And then we passed what's called the fourth bill, which really isn't a traditional bill. It's just what we call the appropriations bill that pays for a variety of things, including the special session. But
right.
it does include about $16 million that we're going to appropriate to the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse just for sign-on and retention bonuses for trying to help recruit more to the community mental health centers like the one in Lawrenceburg and throughout our counties. They're just very poorly staffed these days because they can't get people in there to work. And so this has nothing to do with schools directly. I know some people were concerned about that, but that's not it at all. It has another amount of, I'm trying to see, I had some notes here, some funds for supplementing our school resource officer legislation that we passed this last session, where every school is going to have a school resource officer. We have put in some more money in this bill to help with some of the systems that currently hire what are called school safety officers. Now, these are not, there's a difference between school resource officers and safety officers. The resource officers are post-commissioned, law enforcement trained. The school safety officers are a bit different. So some of the schools need some help with being able to, and the sheriff's office needs some help with being able to keep these school safety officers in place while they recruit, hire, and train folks to be school resource officers. So it just kind of supplements what we were already doing. Those are the bills that passed in the Senate floor session today, and the ones that we are sticking by, the only ones we are intending to pass.
Okay.
Now, that said, our friends on the House side have passed a multitude of bills, 40 or 50, with some, significant funding needs, and we, as the Senate, have taken a position that those are not of a level of need right now that we need to take them up. But the reason we have a bicameral system, a House and a Senate, is because to provide checks and balances. And so leadership from the House and Senate are, I believe, probably meeting this evening and deciding how do we proceed. Do we take up more of those House bills, which the Senate does not want to do, or can we adjourn tomorrow? It's my preference we adjourn tomorrow, as we feel like we've conducted our business on the Senate side, but there's a negotiation process involved. But that's the latest of where we are.
Wow.
Okay, I got a couple of questions for you on this. One, my understanding is I've heard you say now a couple of different times that we do not have enough of these psychologists and psychology workers and being able to bring people to them. My question to you is this, Paige: are we not also way understaffed? And maybe understaffed's not the word, but is there not enough beds? Because from what I had heard, Tennessee has lost probably 80 to 90% of the beds that they had like 20 and 30 years ago.
I'll try to answer both those questions. 20 or 30 years ago, you're right. We had way more beds, even going back farther than that. Back when I was first licensed as a psychologist in the 1980s, there were even more. But we went through this deinstitutionalization process where we downsized dramatically our state psychiatric hospitals because of the progress that had been made in medication and because resources were shifted over to community mental health centers where, it's thought that a lot of folks could be served in the community and not have to be housed at taxpayer expense, to that degree. So that was the movement. I think now what we have found is that there, just like so often happens, the pendulum maybe swings too far one direction, needs to come back. From talking to Marie Williams, our commissioner of the Department of Mental Health, she believes, and I'm inclined to agree with her right now, that we probably have enough psychiatric beds, although we've added more. We've added more in this year's budget. So with the additions that are coming, we have enough, but we don't. Even with the beds we currently have, we don't have the staff to manage them. It's kind of like at a nursing home or a hospital. You can have all the beds you want, but if you can't hire the staff to provide the services in the facility, it's a moot point. So that's kind of where we are. And with our community mental health system, every county has a community mental health center. They're just having a heck of a time hiring and retaining staff because the private sector can hire them away too easily. So we've had to make salary adjustments just like we have in in keeping correctional officers and keeping them, being able to staff that adequately, and other such public service positions. So this applies to these organizations like the Community Mental Health Center in Lawrence County that contracts with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse to provide these outpatient services locally. So anyway, that was the reason for this. And so yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm just looking at what's been accomplished so far with the special session, and I have to say I'm glad that we don't see any red flag laws. That was one thing that was very concerning to most citizens in the state of Tennessee. I'm not sure exactly what all's came through the House so far, because we're going to have Clay Doggett on right after you in just the next few minutes.
Okay.
And Kip says he wants to come on too. Kip's just texted me and say, "Can I come on?"
These guys are just coming out so they can just get to where they can actually get some public access. And to be honest with you, Paige, I just want to touch on something else that I've seen. We got you right here live on the air. Lawrence and I were there all day yesterday, about 13 hours, 14 hours. We were there in the state capitol and in Cordell Hall building. And I'll tell you, one of the things I've noticed, and I just want to say it out loud, I want to get your opinion on this. The media is so slanted to show a slanted picture of protesters. And I'm up there, I was in the gallery yesterday. At one point I counted 22 people standing up, and we had 4 or 5 or 6 photographers up there for different Associated Press and different ones taking pictures, trying to make this look like they were filling up the Coliseum in Rome or something.
That's right.
And I mean, it was I told, for lack of a better word, a dog and pony show in the media trying to take over our state capitol.
Well, I'll give you a better example. How many does the Senate hold, Paige?
The gallery.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it holds 200 or 300, 250, something like that.
Okay. I know it was large, but I mean, yesterday when you introduced us, it looked like that we took up half the gallery.
You did. And let me tell you, that was an amazing display, and I think that spoke volumes, not only to the members on the floor, but to the media. I think they were very surprised. And I believe, like you said, Lawrence, a lot of those other folks aren't going to get up that early. It doesn't mean as much. They're not as eager. They want to come in there at the last minute. And so when I introduced you all, I was looking over at you all in the group that had come up. So whatever that number was, I was expecting you to stand up. But I referenced the folks from Southern Middle Tennessee and the Republican parties, and it seemed like way more people stood up on other parts of the gallery than I realized were there.
We had 12 counties there representing us.
Yeah.
And we, we've been getting out and been trying to get other counties involved, even your Senate district involved. You've now come to 2 of our Senate district meetings that we've just held, just to, hey, let's get together, let's know each other. And I tell you what, I was really happy even for you to see that when you said that. And here we are. We took up half the gallery for people that was there for you, and you introduced us. Yeah,
and it was, of course, and Brandon served as our minister of the day and opened us with a word of prayer, which was just tremendous. I had some people today, Brandon, that remarked on, how encouraging that prayer was. But it was interesting too to me. I think your presence really had an impact on some of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate, because there was not, and today neither. There's not the kind of just vociferous, just shouting and protesting and ranting and raving that you hear in the House side. I think there's a different just composure many times in the Senate, but I think just the presence of all of you all. When you're surrounded by your friends and people that are your allies, it makes a difference. And when you're surrounded by people that aren't your friends and your allies, it makes a difference.
Amen. Thank you for those kind words, Paige. And to God be all the glory.
Yes.
We're just glad to be there, and Thank you for recognizing us. It was very awesome. And then after we left the Senate, our group, so you all went through your morning session right there, and then when you adjourned for the morning, our group then took off and crossed the hall and went over into the House. And so then we
filled up half the House.
So we started working on that angle. So it was fast paced. We were moving all over the campus up there.
Yeah. And you're right too about the media, that they have their thumb on the scales. I mean, to try to show those that, have a far more liberal view of what they want to see done, and they're looking for that, and they're exaggerating their influence, they're exaggerating their level of intimidation. Just like you all saw yesterday. There's nothing to it. It was paper tiger. And to me, that's what it's often been. But they can be vocal and loud. And today, when the Senate finished, there was a small group, and you'll probably see it on the news like they were a mighty horde. It was a small group on the front row of the gallery that dropped the banner and just started shouting about you haven't done anything. And in some ways, I kind of like that. We haven't done anything. We haven't done anything that they want to see done.
I tell you what, it's I sit there and we've seen these moms demand action and all these other groups up there, and I see it, and it's like, I can't believe that you people believe what you do. And they're almost like they're communists, so I started calling them commie mommies.
I watched with my own eyes. I sat behind a group, and they were claiming to be parents from Covenant School. I don't know if they were or not. I'm just telling you what they were claiming. They said it in the area. They're trying to hold seats, and they were trying to reserve seats. They said, we are parents from Covenant School. And they were literally, I was watching it. I'm 2 feet away from it. They were texting the media. The media was making eye contact with them from across the room, different reporters with photographers, and they were shuffling people in and out of those rooms and they were working a little operation inside there with the media to make it a slanted view, to make it look like it was something totally different than what it was.
Well, and
they really were.
I tell you, even to take a step further, they were saying, well, we're saving this for the moms for the Covenant schools. Yeah. And then they were like introducing themselves to each other. And I'm sitting there going, you're saving seats for the Covenant moms. Don't you know each other? I mean, Covenant's not a large school. I mean, you would think they would know each other.
Right.
So I see that.
They've got no more right to have a seat in your Senate or your House than you do or anyone else does. So,
very true.
This was not their session. This was a session on public safety and mental health related issues, and the Senate's mine, and I believe in the House is mine. And I know y'all need to get to Clay and Kip, and they're working hard on their side, and my sense is that we're going to be moving toward a conclusion tomorrow or Friday. I'm very hopeful, but as I said, things are a bit fluid, and there are negotiations going on between Senate and House leadership about how to close it down and what, if anything, else to address and how to, to move on. But y'all made a difference, and let me say, as the state senator for Lawrence County, and I'll tease my friend Clay and Kip a little bit, as the only legislator that has all of Lawrence County, I'm particularly proud of what y'all did yesterday.
Well, thank you, and I'm very proud.
We're proud of you too.
Thank you for what you did. Thank you for the other senators standing up. We've got some good senators up there.
We do. Joey Hensley. Got to give a shout out to Joey Hensley.
Joey Hensley, close friend of ours. We have heard, and the rumor we were hearing was the Senate was going to be leaning more.
Problem. They were the problem.
Going to be the problem.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, that's not been the case.
No, you guys
have shut this down. You all have shut the special session down. You absolutely put a chokehold on it.
Thank you so much, Paige.
We're trying to convince our friends in the House to just let's pass these 3 bills and go home. So we'll see. But thank you all very much, and be glad to talk to you again anytime.
All right. Thanks, Paige. Have a good day.
God bless you.
Bless you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. You there, Clay?
Hey!
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, nothing much. What about y'all?
We just got Paige off the phone, and we seen you calling in. Say hey, and then Kip's already texted me and say, hey, when can I get on?
Yeah, so
Well,
if you're just tuning in, this is the Lawrence County Republican Party show. We just got off the phone with Paige Walley, Senator Paige Walley, and back-to-back phone calls. We're trying to get as much as we can in this hour. We have our state representative, Mr. Clay Doggett.
Clay.
Hello there.
Hey, buddy. Tell me what went on today.
Well, it was kind of a somewhat of a boring day in my realm with the criminal justice side. That was the committee that we had that met this afternoon. So had a few bills that come through there, and last night we had a subcommittee that I get to chair, and that was 4 hours of debate and deliberation.
Yeah, we sat there with you the entire time.
I noticed that. I just want to say thank y'all. Hey, Lawrence County had a very good crew, a good crowd of folks that come up
Yes.
yesterday, and that was just amazing. I want to say thank y'all for organizing that and being a part of that, and for coming, and especially for sticking around. It was just really nice to have a familiar face in the crowd that we could look to and know that we're okay.
Well, that 4 hours that we sat through was torture, and the next time I will confess to things that I didn't even do to get out of that. That was torture.
Well,
I'm kidding, but only a little. I'd rather go to the dentist than do that again. But I was glad we were there.
I love how you handle that gavel. You don't just tap that gavel, buddy. You slam that gavel.
No
you
one
let
wants
them know.
to get their hand near the gavel when Clay Doggett has
Oh
it.
no, and he doesn't even give people a chance to talk. Sometimes he's like, I don't want to hear you. Click, bam, move on.
Look, I'm going to tell you, we have laughed about that. I was laughing about it just before we went on there. Someone called me, and I was telling about you and that gavel. So I just want to say, before you even get into anything else, thank you so much for what you're doing up there. And I'm not going to carry your water for you. You're carrying your own water, but I will tell people what you're doing, and you're doing a fantastic job for the citizens of Lawrence County.
Yeah, and
thank you.
And I've had some people that have said, well, why didn't Clay vote to adjourn? And I'm trying to explain to them. And on the air on Monday, I had come out before any of this even had come out in the press, that you guys in particular were being threatened by leadership. And come to find out, it looks like that might have happened. And you had to chair this subcommittee. We did not need to lose you off that subcommittee. And I understand, and everybody else needs to understand why you had to do what you did, because if somebody else had been on that subcommittee, there's no telling what could have been passed.
Well, and it's like I've told others, before we ever got there Monday and we had our chairman's meeting, I'd heard from other members that said that, they were told that if they vote to adjourn, that their bills are not going to get passed, won't get heard. And I said, well, that can't be right. That's not right. And talked to some others. And then we get in I said, well, I'm going to get clarification on this. I'm going to straight up call them out. And we get into our chair meeting, and the speaker starts telling us, if you got to vote your district, vote how you want. But if you vote to adjourn, you can't serve as chairman this week of your committees. And everybody just kind of looked around at each other, and I said, well, can I ask a question? And I said, I just need clarification. I was like, are we being threatened or what? And he said no, but he said at the end of the day, if you vote to adjourn and we end up staying, then you go in there and you're supposed to preside over a committee and be fair and just in doing so. How can you do that if you clearly don't want to be here? And I said, well, I understand that. And the same thing with the bills. How can you ask someone to support a bill that's important to you in your district if you've already said that, one, you don't think you want to be there? So I get that. I don't like the way the message was conveyed.
No.
But nevertheless, we get on the floor, and every time there's always I've learned a lot too. this week, which this is the fourth special session that I've been through. But I learned a lot this week. But we get in there, and of course, I didn't know who was going to make a motion to adjourn or how they were going to do it, but nobody filed a resolution, and it takes to adjourn completely to go home. You have to have a resolution that does that. Nobody filed it.
Right.
So they moved to suspend the rules, and that was the vote that was taken, not necessarily to adjourn, but suspend the rules so that a motion could be made. And of course, that didn't pass. I didn't vote either way, one way or the other. I didn't clearly understand exactly what we was doing, what we were suspending the rules, and what was going to take place after that. So I just held my vote, didn't vote one way or the other. But it's a dangerous thing when you suspend the rules. We just passed a rules package that was highly contested, and then we're going to turn around and suspend them, and that opens up the door for whatever,
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get when you suspend those rules.
You don't. And just to make everything clear, if that hadn't been told to you, you would have voted to adjourn, would you not?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
while we're on the phone right here.
Let me back up.
Okay.
It's like I've told people for several weeks. I don't know that I would vote to adjourn, but I definitely was not going to vote to stay. So I wouldn't vote against an adjournment motion, but I didn't know that I would vote to adjourn. And the way I look at it is this: the governor does have the authority in the Constitution to call me in, because I was elected by the people of the 70th District to go and be their representative in the House. He has that authority. I don't agree with him using it in this fashion. So I've been kind of conflicted over the last month or so about it, because one, there's nothing that we have done since we've been there that could not have waited till we come back in January.
Absolutely.
There's nothing that's been extraordinary. There's nothing that's been emergent. And it's just been very discouraging, because we go in, we had 106 bills that were filed. We had 33 assigned to the committee that I chair. The Senate, my Senate companion, the Judiciary Committee, they took up 2 bills that they passed and tabled the rest. Well, we heard 33 last night for 4 hours.
Yep. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But you know what? You kind of made it fun. Remind me to never wear an ugly tie around you.
Well, I wasn't saying that he had an ugly tie. That's a running joke. That representative has a program that he does every year called Ties for interns. Now, I've got an ambulance coming by me, so just bear with me.
I was wondering if you were running from the cops, or if this was O.J. Simpson rerun, or what this was.
No, he's running from the cops.
No, hey, but I am driving a Bronco, but it's not a white Bronco.
Well, because I know you're going to get some heat over this. I'm telling you, even as we're talking right now, I've had a couple people texting me. They're listening online. They want to know why you didn't vote to adjourn. And, I want to be clear with folks where they understand that if you would have voted for that adjournment, you would have been removed as chairman from your committee that you were going to be on. And Lawrence and I, we hung in there. Chris Stutz was there as well. My wife was there.
Yep.
A couple other folks who were in our group. We stayed there to the very end. It was grueling. At times it was funny, but it was mainly just a lot of misery. Even you looked like you were going through it up there, Clay. And we laughed at you a few times, but that's just because we're friends, okay?
Right.
But, I want people to realize you would have been pulled off that committee, and we actually saw you doing what you're elected to do by the folks in your district. You're elected to go up there and to do the best for your district. And the best thing for the state of Tennessee yesterday was the fact that you, Clay Doggett, were chairing that committee, and you had that gavel in your hand. And I'm telling you, man, don't get your hand next to that gavel, because Clay Doggett will mash your finger. He was slamming that thing down and moving through those bills, and you were doing a fantastic job. I'm telling you, I was sitting there watching you, and I thought to myself, he does not know how thrilled I am that he's sitting in that chair.
You ain't kidding, especially when I heard some of these bills coming up, these communistic bills that they were trying to push through. And you took over that room too. I mean, none of the none of the people misbehaved like they did the session before. It was like they knew you meant business. And we had a packed crowd in there until about halfway through, and people figured out there's nothing going through Clay Doggett. We're getting out. So all the commie mommies, they got up and left.
They were gone.
Yep.
I mean, they left, and that place was empty. Of course, you know, the last one to get up there was Justin Jones, and we saw him, and he gave a weak, tired speech. I'm just telling you, it didn't even make sense. It wasn't even relatable. The press was all over him, and that's another thing I want to talk about. We just mentioned it with Paige Walley. One of the most disgusting things that I saw while I was up there yesterday, Clay, was the way the press has treated several of the Democratic representatives and treated them like heroes, following them around like, I made a joke, like they're Jennifer Lopez or something, taking pictures. And
I didn't see no Jennifer Lopez.
It was
up
a
there.
joke. It was a joke. People in Lawrence County had an eye-opening experience. I mean, the media is trying to run the state of Tennessee. What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, and it's never portrayed accurately. And I've had this conversation with another radio station earlier today about, you know, you get bits and pieces of information, you know, a lot of times, and you guys do a good job of trying to lay out the whole picture. And the only way you can do that is if you're there really and see it firsthand.
That's right.
And if you're able to get some of that inside scoop as to how things move and flow. And the media just follow them around. I've been a part of conversations. I've seen things with my own eyes. I've heard them with my own ears. And then go home and watch the news, and it's completely spun a different direction, and it's not even in the same context of the event that happened. But that's the way they spin it, and these guys, they know it. The Democrats up there, they feed off of it.
They enjoy it.
Lockstep with the media. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They were having fun with it.
Yeah, there was a lot of laughing and everything else. And what was funny is I've caught a couple of the photographers laughing at what was supposed to have been a somber time. And I'd look at them, and as soon as they see me looking at them, they'd put their head down and act like they weren't laughing or having fun anymore. It was kind of eerie, actually. You know, how
the protesters were literally, and I just mentioned this with, of course, we were in different rooms, and you weren't in the same room with Paige Walley during the times of the sessions, but we were bouncing around from room to room, and we literally were seeing the same protesters going from different room, and when they would get in there, they would get in seats, and they would start texting the media. And so they're texting the camera guys, and the camera guys were, you know, taking their pictures and getting prepared for whatever they're going to do, hold their signs up or whatever. It was a joke. It was. You can't even take it serious. It makes you not even want to watch the news, period, when you see something as grotesque as this was, abuse of power.
Well,
Right.
And I will say this: after seeing it, if you want especially local politic news, you need to be listening to WDXE.
That's it.
And you need to be listening to the Republican Party, because we'll tell both sides anyway. And you need to be listening Monday to Kips. I mean, listen to John. Listen to WDXE. WDXE is going to get you the correct and honest information.
That's right. What you got? Anything else you want to throw out there? What are you seeing coming through that's been voted in that you see? We just talked with Paige Walley, and he seems to think that it may be over on their end. They voted in past three bills. What do you think?
Yeah, I went through today and was doing a little homework there to see what has happened on the Senate side, because they've already passed. They passed three bills. They passed one about 72-hour reporting for court dispositions to the TBI. They passed human trafficking information, report that the TBI will have to transmit to the General Assembly every year. And then they passed a bill that would allow the state of Tennessee to give out trigger locks or gun locks to people for free that want them.
Right.
And then, so they got those three, and then the appropriations bill, which pays for everything that was done this week. And so when you pass the appropriations, it's done. The only thing on the Senate calendar for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is the resolution to adjourn. And so they will come in at 9. They'll pass that, and then we will be we'll be done. On their side, we'll have to pass the same 3 bills, or we may not pass the same 3 bills. We'll have to pass the appropriations bill before we adjourn.
What is your thought process? Oh, I'm sorry. What was your thought process, Clay, on the bill that was passed with the teachers being able to carry handguns now?
It went through committee.
Well, that went through the Civil Justice Committee. That's one that we'd actually it made it to the floor back during regular session.
Right.
And so that was one that I had co-sponsored earlier this year.
Yep.
I thought was a good bill, and it's permissive. It's not anything that's mandated, but in some schools. But one thing that we did do is create funding for counties to be able to put SRO officers in their schools.
Right.
That bill, that's been one that has floated around for a couple of years. David Byrd, when he was representing the northern part of Lawrence County and had Wayne County, Kip's district, he had passed a bill a few years ago that if you were a distressed county, you could teachers could do that, and that went into law. So there was counties already that have, it's permissive. There's some guidelines that are in place, for teachers to be able to participate in that program, to carry, some training and things like that they have to go through. But, that was already in a few counties, and what this one did, it expanded it all the way across, 95 counties, that if teachers were willing to do that, or staff, that they could do that in their schools. So that's not one the Senate took up. I don't anticipate it being on the floor for us tomorrow. But then again, we may see it there. I'm not 100% sure yet.
Okay. Well, if anyone has a problem with you not voting to adjourn, just tell them to call me, and I can explain why you needed to be in that chairman position, because it was vital to what was going to happen in this special session.
And anybody that talks to ours, me and you, Brandon, they know that nobody wanted to have this thing adjourned more than us.
That's exactly right. But once you get on the ground, this is just like any mission that you're going to be on. What do? First thing, we wanted it called off. It didn't get called off. So then when it was called, it was official. We saw that coming a few weeks ago. Then we said, hey, let's get this adjourned. Then we seen it was going to take 3 times of voting on it to get it adjourned because of the rules of the special session. So then it looked like adjournment wasn't going to happen. And then once you get there, Clay, you find out, hey, if I vote to adjourn, which wasn't going to pass, even if you would have voted for it, it still would not have adjourned. And then you would have been pulled off the committee, and we don't know who would have been on that committee.
So I want to bring this up with you online real quick, and then we got to get off, Clay. But the gentleman that you talked with about his tie, I want to read this for everybody online. He put on Twitter yesterday after he got out of your meeting.
Say his name?
Yeah, I'm going to say his name. His name is State Representative Antonio Parkins. And this is what he tweeted, and I got to clean it up. I got to clean it up a little bit.
This is a Democrat.
The moment after a full day of getting your bleep kicked by the Republican supermajority, and you ask yourself, why are we even here? So far, as of the first day of committee, we have passed worse gun bills than we already had on the books. Amen. Praise God. Thank you, Clay Doggett and Kip Capley and everybody else. Paige Walley, Joey Hensley. The great idea of holding a special session on public safety seems to be working in reverse. Call the whole damn thing off.
That's what he just put on Twitter. So
I'm going to tell you guys, yeah, you can sit here and say something about Clay not voting for it, but I'm going to tell you something. You did a great job when you have triggered a Democrat to put that on Twitter. That tells us right there the job you did.
Yep.
Thank you, buddy, and we're going to have Kip call in. Do you have anything you want to add?
Oh no, I'm just I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve, and it's I wish we'd have never been here to start with, and I still stand firm to believe that this was not necessary for us to be there for this session, but that was if we're going to be there, I'm going to make sure that we're going to fight and protect our freedoms and our rights and our liberties. And I feel confident that we've been able to do that. And one of those big bills that we had, I was able to help squash behind the scenes, was that DNA collection bill.
Yes, sir.
So,
That was terrible.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sure it'll be back in January, but at least we got it stopped for now. So, hey, thank y'all for having me on the show, and just let me know if I can do anything to help y'all or the listeners out there.
Thank you, Clay. Have a good evening, and thank you so much again, sir.
All right, y'all too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Kip's got to call back in. I just texted him, told him to call us back in.
Okay.
We better let Charlotte handle that phone.
Somebody that knows how to work a phone needs to call in and tell me how to work a telephone.
So until Kip calls in, I want to talk about this real quick, and I want people of Lawrence County to know what type of representation that they have themselves voted in for. We had 8, and I want to stress this. We had 8 elected officials from Lawrence County up there in the special session.
Absolutely.
That they thought so much, not only of their rights, but of Lawrence County's rights, that they came up. And I want to call them out by name, Brandon.
Absolutely.
So the first one, we're going to give the first one, David Morgan. And David Morgan, we tease him all the time, pretty boy redneck, David Morgan. David was the only one of us that got his picture in the paper. Now, the Tennessean took a picture of David Morgan,
holding up Second Amendment on his phone.
Second Amendment on his phone. David Morgan. You think they would get somebody a lot more prettier like me or you as a picture of it. They could have done a lot better than David, but there you go. David Morgan was up there with us, and
yes, he was.
Thank you so much. Tommy Lee Kidd, our circuit clerk,
yes,
was up there. Tommy, you know what's coming up. Tommy Lee, he doesn't hear very well at times, and he stood up with the other side. Tommy, poor Tommy, he said, I couldn't hear. Russ Brewer almost had to tackle him down. Russ was sitting, Russ Brewer, who is our county clerk, I'm looking at Tommy. Tommy's standing up, and he's thinking it's a moment of silence or somebody's been saved by Jesus, and I'm like sitting there trying to get Tommy. Tommy couldn't hear me. Russ finally looked at me, and I'm like, sit him down.
Yeah,
so
we only wanted the 23 standing, not 24.
No, it was 22. No, it was 22. Tommy made 23.
23.
Tommy made 23, and Russ is almost tackling him, going, get down, Tommy Lee. So, I'm sorry, Tommy. I told you I was going to tell that story. It was hilarious. You had to have been there. Then, like I said, we had our county clerk, Russ Brewer, was there.
Yes.
We had Chris Stutz, who's head of our election commission.
Yes.
Chris actually rode over with us.
Good friend.
And I'm just going to tell you, if you don't know Chris is a great guy,
yes,
big guy. I think my wife was a little bit concerned with me going off by myself without a gun or anything. So I made sure I took a picture of me and Chris together. I'm like, look, I got Chris with me. I'll be okay. Don't worry.
Ain't nothing like having a good old country boy with you.
No.
Down the road. But yeah, Chris, awesome guy.
Awesome guy. And then, we had Tammy Wisdom was there.
Yep.
Our county commissioners. And Dave Ray and Travis Caldwells. They were all there representing us. And
Brady Hutton.
I'm getting to Brady Hutton.
I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, Brady Hutton is our property assessor.
Yes, absolutely.
Brady was there. I'm going to tell you guys, we not only represented Lawrence County, and you heard Paige Walley, and you also heard Clay said, but I'm going to tell you something. The fight's not over. We're going to have more of a fight.
And thanks to all the citizens of Lawrence County, Lewis County, Wayne County, Marshall County, surrounding areas that went and actually showed up and were there present with us. It felt good. It almost felt like it almost felt like that we were at a football game or something. I mean, it had a good feeling sitting there like we were in the stands. I mean, we were laughing and we had a good time, and people thought, well, it may be a January 6th event again.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
I had so many people tell me, you're going up there, that you're going to get arrested. That's going to be a January 6th event. Well, first off, we were invited by our representatives.
Absolutely.
Not only were we invited, then we were given rooms. We were given conference rooms.
Yep.
And not only were we invited, but Kip Capley went and bought all of us Chick-fil-A breakfast, which my girls, by the way, Kip, you listening? They're very mad at you right now because they didn't get Chick-fil-A.
You owe them 2 biscuits.
Yeah, but I mean, Kip says, I'm not buying no woke meal. He goes, Kip was telling me, he says, I went and got Chick-fil-A. We're not going to buy no woke food here today.
Yeah, and we were dominating that floor of the Cordell Hall building. We had a lot of citizens go.
Yes.
You just listed a lot of our elected officials, but we had a lot of citizens there in that room. We were able to live stream, thanks to WDXE for letting us use their Facebook page and be able to live stream back, trying to keep citizens of Lawrence County updated, because you're not going to get the truth from the media. I promise you, I've already been there and seen it. It's the dark side of the moon. Whatever comes around through that, they're going to twist it. They're going to lie. And we're tired of it, Lawrence. You and I, we've talked about this off to the side.
I can't stand it.
We are absolutely fed up with it. And I'm just throw a little teaser out there. I intend to do something about it.
Not only we're going to do something about it, we're going to take our state back.
Absolutely.
We have godly leadership in our county right now.
We do.
And I am so very proud and happy to live in Lawrence County and have the leadership that we have in place, God-fearing men and women that are in this county. It's time to do the same thing with our state.
We have some awesome neighbors here.
We do.
I wouldn't move. There's no place I'd rather be than right here in Lawrence County, Tennessee. And I hope that what we do, volunteering and doing what we do, I hope that we serve Lawrence County well. Let me say that on our end for what we do with Lawrence County Republican Party. I hope that they've set the bar high for us. I'll tell you, the bar is set high for us to achieve. And I feel challenged to be involved and to be a part of what's going on in our state. I think we're definitely having an impact. I know we've had an impact in this special session without a doubt. I would like to see us go back to the regular session when it opens back up after the first of the year. I hope that we can I'm thinking about it. I'm looking for a way to get some passes where we can have our own press pass into the state capitol, because you can't record. A lot of people don't know this, Lawrence, but you can't record inside the session unless you have a press pass.
Right.
So they've really got this thing down to a science.
Yes.
And we've stayed home. We didn't stay home. We've been at work. We've been out as productive citizens. We're conservatives. We work hard in the state of Tennessee. And so while we're working and resting and we're being with our families, they're plotting and planning and trying to figure out a way to take the narrative over. And they're doing it with a handful of reporters with cameras and video cameras in their hands.
Well, not only that, they're doing it with the leadership too. And I'm going to tell you something. I've said this a little bit before, but we talked about on Monday, me and you, not only on this show, but then we were invited to the Tennessee Informer afterwards.
Right.
And we talked about, and nobody else was talking about it, how leadership, they were threatening their members in the House that if they vote to adjourn, that there would be consequences. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that happen.
Yep.
And, Clay, I'm going to tell you something. Again, nobody wanted adjournment more than me, but when you have a Democrat now that they were calling for this special session and howling for it, now they are begging to please call it off, because the laws that are being put in place are even giving us more rights, more gun rights. That right there tells you that is awesome. But I want to bring up this fact right here, that we do have our leadership, and our leadership threatened people, and we only had 7. We only had 7 people that felt like that they had no choice and they had to do it. And I'm going to tell you, Clay would have been number 8 if he hadn't had to chair this special session.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to read their names. I want these people to know.
Okay.
One of them was Jody Barrett.
Okay.
Okay. The other one was Kelly Kessling. And Kelly Kessling actually had the chairmanship removed from him. He chaired one of the boards that they were doing.
Okay.
So they removed him. Todd Warner, Brian Ritchie, who called for the adjournment of the special session, Timothy Hill, Susan Lynn, and drumroll, our very own Kip Kaplan.
He did. Yes, he did. And Kip even was allowed to sit in on a committee as well.
He was.
Yeah.
He
so
was.
We were actually a part of that.
And so I'm going to tell you something. We had 7 people that they basically thumbed their nose at leadership and said, no, I'm going to do what my constituents wanted me to do. And, you know, I'm not wanting to beat a dead horse, but I want people to understand this, that Clay Doggett had to be on that chairmanship.
He has spent now, with 4 hours today, 4 hours yesterday, 8 hours. He's been behind the gavel, sitting there as chairman. That's huge. I mean, 8 hours for him to be sitting there while these bills are being introduced. And if you've never been there, they have to introduce these bills. And if they don't get through committee, they don't go anywhere. Well, they weren't making through committee because Clay Doggett was literally dropping the hammer. He had a huge hand in what's taking place here.
Right. He absolutely did. And I tell you, something has got to change when you have 2 people that are telling everyone else what they have to do and how they have to vote on their conscience.
Right, because they should be able to listen to their constituents because that's what they're there to do.
I tell you, I know that area that Cameron Sexton is in, Crossville, those people are very conservative people.
Yeah.
Just like we are. I mean, I know a lot of people from Crossville, and Crossville, I guarantee you, did not want any part of this special session.
That I agree 100%.
And not only did he go against his people, but then he went against the people of Tennessee and what they wanted. And they can say all they want. Well, the governor had the right. Okay, I get it. The governor has the right. But every single one of them has told us. I haven't heard one that has not told us any different. He might have had the right to call it, but what was introduced could have waited until January.
Well, I'm going to take it one step further. Okay, so he had the right to call it. Well, they also had the right to call for an adjournment. Mm-hmm. And they had the right to call for adjournment just as much.
That's correct.
You know, they went in for roll call, and that's what we wanted to do to begin with. But you know what? Let's just say this out loud to the leadership of the state of Tennessee. We see you.
Right.
You're not hiding anymore. We see what's going on. We're watching, and now you've drawn attention to yourself.
Yeah.
So we're going to be watching from this point forward. I'm hoping to be able to get a group to go back to the next regular session when they open back up. Let's pick a day. Let's get another huge group of counties across Middle Tennessee, even further if we can.
Right.
We're going to be reaching out to East Tennessee. We've been doing some stuff in West Tennessee, but we're going to be reaching out to East Tennessee, trying to get them on board. And let's have a day where we get up there and get to know our legislators. If you've never been to Cordell Hall building, you need to go. I mean, if you're a citizen of this state, you listen to this radio station, you need to get involved. Go see what goes on behind the scenes. They want you to see, because it is a political machine at work up there in our state capitol, and sometimes it's a work against our freedoms.
It is a work against our freedoms, and again, everybody kept telling me, well, it can be just like January the 6th. Here's the difference. Maybe there was some of the legislators in our federal government that wanted people up there, but very few.
Yeah.
I notice after walking through there and seeing our different legislators and our different senators, I would say more than 50%. I would even say 75%.
Yeah.
Were happy to see us and glad that we were there. It was a different feel. I was made to feel at home in our capital.
And if you haven't seen it, we live streamed a lot of it.
We did.
Because they were coming down the hall, and you just go back, and if you don't have time to watch the entire live stream, we were just trying to let it roll so that people could actually get a feel for what we were experiencing. And just while we were on live stream, those legislators were walking down, those representatives coming down the hall, walking in the room with us, and they were just being introduced on live stream. Some of them I didn't know. I'd never been introduced to until we were sitting there on live stream. And, of course, Kip Capley, as soon as you see them walk past the window, and they're looking in and see what we're doing.
Right.
Because they wanted to be a part of us. And what we were at the end of a hall.
We were.
You didn't walk past that room. You had to walk down to that hall, down there, just to see what was going on.
But we had so many people there that in the conference room, they were spilling over.
That's it.
And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And you know what? I'll tell you this. I can't read people's minds, but I bet you that they were sitting there thinking, I wish my people would come up here like Kip's and Joey's and Paige and Clay's.
Oh, there was definitely some jealousy going on. I mean, and not in a bad way.
No, not in a bad way at all.
It was meant to have some support when you're up there making hard decisions. It's not easy. And let's put it this way. What if we hadn't won? And what if they would have made this fall on Clay Doggett and try to make him look bad, put him at a fork in the road where he didn't have a good decision either way?
Right.
And it could have come back, and we could have caused damage to the political credibility of one of our good legislators here in the state of Tennessee.
Absolutely.
If we hadn't been there.
Absolutely. And you know, I'll even take it a step further, and I've been on this air hard on Jody Barrett. But we went and talked to Jody.
Absolutely.
And I got Jody Barrett's full story.
Yep.
And I understand why Jody Barrett did the things that he did. I still don't agree with it. But you know what? I understand. And we're going to have Jody on this show, and he's going to explain to everybody.
He actually is excited to come be in studio with us if he can. He wants to be right here in a chair.
Yeah.
He wants to talk and answer questions.
He got it from us. We went at him, me and you went at him as hard as any of our legislators we've ever went at. And that man was gracious and kind the entire time and explained himself with dignity. And he gave us the hard answers.
He did.
And so I want everybody else to know this, that there's always two sides to every story. And a lot of times the truth is sometimes in the middle. It's not one side's truth or the other side's truth. And that's all me and you are for. Me and you are for the truth. And I don't want to run anybody down even on the truth, but I especially don't want to run somebody down on a lie.
Our position has been, and we'll state it publicly, and I've said this, give someone the microphone and let them talk.
That's right.
I'm going to use a scripture. The Bible says, out of a man's heart, his mouth speaks. So if you want to know what's in a person's heart, male or female, I'm not just saying men, but any person, if you want to know what's down inside them, what they're aspiring to be, what their intentions are, let them start talking, and you'll figure it out. And that's what we want to do, is give people a chance to come in and tell who they are. And I think that's been something that we've been able to accomplish here on this radio show and the Republican Party in our meetings. We've been able to do that. And I want to add another layer to that, because a lot of times people get frustrated with a legislator, and I get it. Look, I'm on the radio right now for free because I get frustrated with legislation. I get frustrated. But I want to say this to those that are out there that's frustrated. If we can get them and get to talk to them, and if we could change their views on different points, that is a lot easier than trying to get them replaced.
Right. Because
people will look at someone and go, well, I don't like that person. We need to replace them. Okay, well, who?
Right. Who's going to do it?
It's kind of like, I use the analogy several times for years. Elections are like going up to a vending machine. You get Pepsi, you get Diet Pepsi. That's what it is at a voting booth. Just one's got a little more sugar than the other. That's it. One's a little sweeter. No, there's not much difference sometimes. So if we can get things accomplished, that's our ultimate goal, is to get things accomplished. And if we can get our legislators to hear us, maybe to see our points of view, and we feel like we can have good dialogue and debate, we can get them to see why we want freedom, and we're really not that far apart from them most of the time.
Most of the time we're not, and that's the thing that I've noticed, and I'd even say that to Cameron Sexton. If this gets into Cameron Sexton's video feed, you know what? Call us.
Absolutely.
Come on the air with us.
Drive down. Come sit in the studio.
Yeah, we'll give you the opportunity. I mean, he's been here in Lawrenceburg before. We'll give you the opportunity to explain your side, but right now, the side that I've heard, it does not make you look good. You or William Lambert right now, it to me, it makes you, in my opinions, look like bullies.
Well, if that's the case, and that's what it appears to be. But at this point, we're going to throw our support behind the ones we know are doing a good job, the ones that definitely represent us, and can't be more thankful for that. And again, I'm proud to say I'm from Lawrence County. To be here, to be a part of the Lawrence County Republican Party, folks.
I'm glad to see all the people that came out with us to Lawrence County.
Wow.
I mean,
it was impressive.
It was extremely impressive, and it gave us. We should have had a lot more. Yes. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Sure.
I'm disappointed, actually, with what we got in.
Yep.
But what we did, what do you always say? You don't go into battle with the army you want. You go into battle with the army you got.
That's it.
And we went in with the battle of the army we got, and we won.
We won.
We won. I'm going to tell everybody right now, we won. When you have a Democrat crying, "Uncle, please," when you had these, moms that demand action, or I call them commie mommies, when they are screaming and pitching fits. Yep. And getting dragged out by the state troopers and disrupting everything because things aren't going their way. That right there tells you we won.
We definitely won this round, but we also can't.
This is just a battle. That's right. This is a round. This is not a.
Absolutely.
We have not won the war.
And I think a lot of people want to go and view it that way as well.
No,
let's dust our
don't
hands.
View it that way.
Let's go home and forget it. No, what we need to do is we need to learn from every engagement, and then we learn how to strategize better, to actually work our ideas to push for our freedoms. And we need to propel that. And so right now, I mean, we've come back to the drawing board now. I mean, you and I, we've been talking, and we haven't had much time to really get together. But we've got to get some conservative media in our state capitol. I don't have any other way to say it.
No, that's right.
And I would say it to their face. You've seen me. We had several in our group, including me, call the press out yesterday for who they are. I mean, there may even be
I got to mention him by name. Stephen News. I'm going to tell you something. If I have anybody to sick on anybody that they need to be put in their place, that dude is so sharp. He is so smart. He is so quick with the tongue.
Yeah.
And he has no filter.
No.
And
fake news.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something right now. He had some people up there just about in tears. They were so mad.
I think the one guy said, "Why you keep messing with me?"
Because he can.
One of the reporters.
Because Stephen News can.
He'd come walking by and he'd say, "Fake news." it was tearing him up. And Stephen said, "Am I about to trigger you?"
You know what? And I'd be remiss not to mention this. Because we talked about other elected Republican officials that we had here.
Yeah.
But we totally missed Tom and Wendy Cunningham.
Yep. They did excellent.
Those are our co-chairmen of the Republican Party. And Tom and Wendy Cunningham came up and was also there, a part of us.
And I want to brag on my wife.
Yes.
She's there every step of the way. She's leading the Lawrence County ladies group. And so she sits as a part of our county executive committee as well. And I can't brag on her enough. She's tough, she's strong, and she puts up with me, and it takes a special person to do that. So
yeah, I don't know how she does that. There's a special
place
place in heaven for that woman.
Absolutely.
I mean, so, you, I don't know. I'm still worried about you in that place, but with her, she's got a special place.
We talked about it long enough. Let's move on.
Hey, listen, I got to get even with you calling me a Yankee on air the other day.
No one heard it.
Oh, yes, they did. I had numerous people text me, and even one guy even commented on there and said he spit out his drink when he heard you say that.
Well, that's not the first time I've made somebody do that. I apologize if I ruined any of your upholstery.
But I tell you, one of the things, and I want to talk about this, and just kind of give the people the understanding of the liberal mindset, because you understand how to talk to liberals. So we had Moms Demand Action actually kind of accosted us in the hallway.
Yep.
I guess they thought maybe we were legislators because we were dressed nice. I don't know, because next thing I'm sitting there having a wonderful, relaxing conversation with Kip's guy, Bobby Gobble, and next thing I know, you're coming in, tapping me on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, come on, come on."
Well, I got to give John Harper some credit. John Harper is a bulldog that I'm glad to call my friend.
Yes, I think
if you don't know John Harper, hats off to you, my friend. I hope that we have many more adventures together, because we
had a blast.
He actually caught him in the hall. He actually was the one that spearheaded that one.
Okay.
You know, they were willing, but he was the one that stepped out there and got that going.
Well, they weren't necessarily willing because they wouldn't come on air with us.
No.
So I want you to explain the story. Don't embellish it and make me look too bad.
Well, I will say this: when they walked in, we're in the conference room, and we got them. I tried to get them to sit down, because I know if you're going to deal with liberals, you have to go in a very relaxed setting, and you have to be, lean back in the chair like you're just going to sip on some tea and just have a good conversation. They wouldn't sit down. They wouldn't talk with us, especially when they found out they thought we were media. They're like, no, we can't talk to the media.
Right.
Of course, now I'm trying to talk to them about what were they trying to accomplish while they were here, and they wouldn't even be able to acknowledge or be able to tell us what their goals were.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to talk to them, trying to get them to sit down, just have a conversation, and Lawrence could not handle it. Now, Lawrence, I'm going to say something on the air that you don't know.
Okay.
There's actually a recording of that conversation.
Oh, I know there is.
Somebody in the room hit the record button on their phone. I haven't heard it yet, but Lawrence, your entire head was as red as the Tennessee state flag. And I guess liberals have that effect on you. I don't know. And I was literally telling Lawrence, at one point I was like, shut up. What I was trying to do is corner him, but Lawrence couldn't handle it. He was just like, "What are you talking about?" They don't have good talking points when it comes to talking about anti-gun legislation. They do not have any good talking points. They literally told us, because they were wearing Moms Demand Action shirts, they said we could be shot because we're wearing these shirts.
We're going to be shot and killed.
They were afraid,
and we don't even know if you have guns or not. That's when I got mad.
It was.
And that's when I looked at them and I said, "Oh, are we triggering you because you don't know facts? This is a safe place. This is your safe space here." That's when you got mad at me, because I couldn't take it at that point.
Well, we knew when we went into the conversation it was going to fail at some point. But, I love getting liberals. For me, I would be totally satisfied if a liberal would come and sit down on the other side of this counter and come in and get a microphone and let's talk.
Yeah.
Because I know my viewpoints. And I would love it if they would give theirs. But anyway, that was my experience with Lawrence, talking with liberals. I do work with liberals a lot of time, but I don't usually work with Lawrence every day, so it was a little different for me, Lawrence. But
yeah,
I'll have to. We'll go through some training classes with you, and maybe I don't know. I hate to use the word sensitivity. It's not sensitivity. You just have to. You have to not let them upset you. I promise you that when you talk.
No, I wasn't upset. I was just
angry.
I was just flat out mad.
Yeah, you were just angry.
I mean, when you sit there and you think that we're going to hurt you because you have Moms Demand Action and you're a commie mommy. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I want everybody to have their opinion. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion.
Even if it's wrong.
Even if it's wrong, but they're not entitled to their own facts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's where I got. And I think somebody texted in. I don't know why I had Bobby Gobble on my mind, but it was Barry Gobble.
Barry Gobble, yeah.
And I know that. I mean, but... like everybody else, I do make mistakes, Ask my wife, she'll tell you. I mean...
She said that earlier, that you make plenty of mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so it's been verified. It's not just rumors.
We've had 2 women say it, so that means it's right.
Well, if you hang out with me, you'll see a lot of mistakes on my end. But, I want to brag on you, Lawrence, because you've spent many hours. I don't know how many hours you spent, but it's been more than 50 to 60 hours at least putting this together on the phone. You probably spent 50 hours last week putting it together. I've been on the phone a lot. My wife told me, she was like, if your phone rings one more time, I don't know what I'm going to, because people are calling, and it's good, but I want people to know that are listening, we didn't just slap this thing together. It came together because working behind the scenes, and you did a lot of that work, and we appreciate that. It's, You won't get thank you a lot. You may not get paid, but we can at least say thank you when someone's doing a good job. And you're doing a darn good job as the secretary for Lawrence County Republican Party.
My thank you enough was when I heard Paige Walley said that we made a difference.
Absolutely.
And when Clay Doggett says we made a difference. And if Kip called in, but then he had another call and he texted me and he couldn't call back in. He said me and him we'd talk about it on air Monday. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't miss the show on Monday because it is going to be a hoot.
Yeah.
We will have more time to talk about adventures that we had there at that point. We've took up over 20 minutes of time. We got it. Why don't you start kind of sending us off?
Well, first off, I want to say none of this would be possible without the Lawrence County Republican Party sponsoring this show.
Yes,
getting behind us. We've had so much support, outpouring, and they've told us they love us. I want to say this: we love Lawrence County. We love the conservative viewpoint that's so strong here. Thank you to the citizens of Lawrence County. Thank you for making this happen. We want to take this to the next level. I don't want to see this be something that just fizzles out and dies. I think it's snowballing. We want to actually make Lawrence County a powerhouse in the Tennessee state legislature. I want us to be there, be present, and that's actually coming to fruition. So thanks to everyone. Number one, more than anything, I want to say thanks to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for what he's done in my life. And he made a way that
only God could have done this. Only Jesus could have done this.
Prayer. I say we because we were doing it together.
Yeah.
There it was, all of our citizens, our friends, right there together. It would only been appropriate that I could have been the one to get up there and do that, or someone for our group get up there and do it. And Lord knows I'm not afraid to do it. But I was honored, and I looked up there and saw friends and family. It was just like we were at a Republican Party meeting or just hanging out
in your
somewhere.
church.
Yeah,
or in your church.
I mean, that's just what it felt like. So you just feel at home. This state belongs to us. We have to take possession before we can take the positions. And so if we're working toward that, and there's good things in the future.
Amen.
So God bless everyone. God bless you. Thank you, Charlotte, for letting us go over. WDXE, you're awesome. I hope we can deliver and make something better out of this radio station. I hope we bring something to the table.
Yes, WDXE is the place to get your news from here. I'm just going to tell you, after seeing what I saw, we've been given a platform. And Charlotte, again, thank you so much.
God bless.